When you stand praying, all you gotta do is just believe, and you shall have whatsoever you pray. Just believe.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rosalind Farrell, and I will be your host tonight on the Just Breathe podcast. We have a panel of some amazing men, and I'm going to be bringing them in one-on-one. So the first person that I want to introduce you to is Mr. Bobby Collins.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
Good. Welcome to Just Breathe. I'm excited to have you here.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, no worries. All right, let me go ahead and bring up our next guest, which is Kelly Dumas. All right, Kelly, how you doing this evening?
Doing quite well this evening. Good to see you there, my brother.
All right, the next is Kendall Dumas. Hi, Kendall.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to Just Breathe. And my cousin, his name is Daryl McCormick, but we're going to refer to him as Nenny tonight. So for those of you, this is Daryl Nenny McCormick. And then lastly, we have Mr. Vaughn Scales with us tonight from St. Louis, Missouri. So welcome, Vaughn, to the Just Breathe podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And then lastly, we have my son, Darius Walker, who will also be my co-host for tonight. So thank you, Darius, for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. So the first question I will have for Mr. Bobby Collins is, tell us about your sport journey and what inspired you to play.
Sports journey started at the Y actually. My dad became my basketball coach. He saw that everybody saw that I was always one of the taller kids around. So I started playing basketball at the Y, and my dad became my basketball coach there. And then we took it a little further and organized a team called the Blue Devils with a gentleman that my dad is really close to, was Willie Wright, who is still living now, Billy Wright and Joey Wright's dad. And we put together a basketball team, and at that point, I started enjoying my career. I started enjoying basketball, and was blessed to play high school basketball, college basketball, and play a little overseas with my cousin there, Vaughn Scales. Play a little overseas basketball. So basketball has been very good to me, and I just love the sport. I enjoy it. Matter of fact, I enjoy it so much. I'm a high school basketball official, and I run AAU basketball tournaments here in St. Louis. So the journey of basketball has been great to me. It helped me get my master's degree. So I did what my dad said: use basketball like basketball is going to use you.
Amen to that. Thank you for sharing that, Bobby. Amazing, amazing journey, and very inspirational. So, Kelly, tell us about your sport journey and what inspired you to play the sport. Did we lose Kelly?
You hear me?
Okay, now we can.
All right. I say it's kind of ironic how I started my sports journey, because two of the brothers that I started with are on this podcast tonight. And Bob, I hadn't seen you since that journey that we were on in UCLA. Mm-hmm. And Bobby, it's been a while since I've seen you too, but it's great to see you guys again. And it's one of those things where that sports journey begins as you start off as kids and you're out finding something to do. As you get older, you become a little bit more talented in sports. Then you start playing sports together as a way for you guys to get together and do things together. And then you realize that some of you are better than others. and you continue on through that journey, and where it leads you to is kind of the path that we met up on, and that's and playing AAU basketball and the things that we were able to accomplish. So it was just a blessed event, a journey, getting to meet and know you guys, and just hope we get to continue this friendship.
Yes, that's amazing, Kelly. Especially, starting that journey, like you said, as kids and then carrying it out to your adulthood and still being able to stay friends. So thank you for sharing that. All right, Kendall, tell me about your sport journey and what inspired you to play the sport.
Yeah, it started when I was young. My dad would take me to the gym while him and his coworkers would play basketball down the street from his job. So that's kind of where I started first being personally introduced to the game. Then I started playing YMCA basketball, moved into, playing school basketball. I made the team every year that I tried out when they had tryouts, and got better and better and started playing AAU basketball in high school. So my journey pretty much started at a very young age, just seeing, my role model, who was my dad, playing and just competitively for fun, So he grew up in that, time frame of basketball being an interest, and it rubbed off onto me. And also did track and field when I got to high school because I was dunking at a young age. So I started dunking the basketball in 7th grade. And the track coach ended up kind of recruiting me in a way because they didn't have anybody to do high jump or none of the jumping activities in track. So then I found out I was pretty good at that too. So that was then I went on to do track and field at University of Missouri, Columbia, Mizzou, as most people know, as well. So that was pretty much my sports journey all the way through.
Nice. So for those that do not know, so Kelly and Kendall, Kelly is the uncle to both myself and Kendall. So, just Kendall, you did break a record in high school too also, right?
Yep, and track.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a triple jump record.
Yes. And Kelly, what about you?
Now, first off, how you gonna get on here and make me sound real old? Look, I'm the same age as you now.
Listen, don't start, because as kids you used to try to make me call you uncle.
All right. What's the question again?
I said, did you break any records in high school?
Not in high school. Mine was in 8th grade, and that was the scoring record.
Gotcha. Okay. So just a bloodline of dad. Kendall and our dad plays sports. So it's been amazing watching all of your journeys. All right, so let's start with now, Nini. Tell us about your sport journey and what inspired you to play the sport.
Well, believe it or not, my sport journey came as a way of not playing basketball because Madison was a basketball school. And when we used to play pickup games, everybody like, man, you too slow and blah, 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 go out there. So I started playing pickup football. And when I started playing that, I started liking it more than basketball. So basketball was like my passport in a sense. It just paid my way on to get a free education, scholarship like Bobby, got a free education, went on and got my master's, and met some amazing people through the process. And it's been a great journey. And, going to HBCU and playing at that level, wouldn't change it for nothing the word. So it's been an amazing journey.
Nice. So we have well-rounded here. We got Edwardsville, Alton, and also St. Louis in the house, which brings us to our next guest, Vaughn Scales. Can you tell us about your sport journey and what inspired you to play the sport?
Yeah, well, my sports journey was supposed to start at the Y as well, but my brother and I were playing around with a candle, making sugar brittle, and almost set the house on fire. So we didn't get to play. So my mom took us out. So the next year, my dad and a guy by the name of Mr. Owens, they coached my basketball team, and someone, I don't know who, saw me playing, and they introduced my parents to this guy by the name of Larry Eller and Paul Ellis, and I ended up playing for them, and that's how I ended up meeting both Kelly and Bobby. I mean, we met at 11 because I joined a team and we were playing in AAU, and I was playing for a team, and this other guy that we knew, Cedric Reynolds, their team beat mine. They picked me up, and then we played Bobby. Our team beat him, and we picked them up, and then they went and got Kelly, and so that's how we ended up playing AAU basketball together. One of the pictures in the promo is two kids in a suit eating ice cream. That's Bobby and I on our way to UCLA, like Kelly mentioned, to play in the AAU national championships. And we were 12 or 11.
Wow.
How old were we? I don't remember.
We were 12,
Well,
12 and 11. Yeah.
Wow.
and I hate to steal the thunder from the young man who was dunking in the 7th grade, but Bobby and I were dunking in the 6th grade.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to mention that, but yeah, we were.
I had to. You know what? When your knees hurt like this, you remember everything. So, but we played AAU basketball together. We've been friends. I lost contact with Kelly, but Bobby and I, we met at age 11, and we still talk, I don't know, 3-4 times a month. Went on to play high school basketball in St. Louis at the Smet, and then went on to play college at Missouri St. Louis. And like Bobby said, got a chance to play overseas, got a contract in Belgium, and then later on one in Costa Rica, and then got a job and started, living real life. But, it's you think a lot of people, and I was guilty of this too, thought that, if you didn't make the NBA, that was it. But there's a lot of distance between high school and the NBA. There's a lot of things that you can accomplish in basketball, and like Bobby said, it's taken us all over the world. I saw places early on that I wouldn't have seen without basketball. So I'm very grateful. It paid for my college. It gave me a mindset that allowed me to learn how to work within a team, which is critical for life. And I'm very grateful for what basketball has done for me and my family, because it's something that once I learned it, I taught it to my 3 children. I have 3 boys, and I've used it to coach and help others and help other kids get to college. So I had a great time, and I still enjoy it now.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that, Vaughn. So the fact that all of you guys have, mastered the sport, and what I like what you said is you also give back to other children, affording them the opportunity that you have, that mentorship, that coaching, that guidance that our young men and also women need today. So thank you for sharing that.
And also let me add that Bobby and I were lucky enough to coach our own sons for a period of time. So it keeps going. Now, Evan is about to start coaching, my oldest. So it's pretty special.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the questions. And Darius, I think you have the first one.
Yeah, I do. So my first question is for Nini. What were your biggest challenges as an athlete, and how did you overcome them?
Well, as an athlete, the athletic ability was there. Coming from where I came from, Madison had some of the best athletes around and some of my classmates. So the athletic part was there. My biggest challenge was competing in the classroom, academically wise, because at Madison, they had this thing set up. Looking back now, it was so crazy. We was in sections, section 1 being the lowest, section 5 being the highest, then 2, 3, and 4. I was in section 1. So going out to college, I knew I could play football and compete, but then when I started bumping into guys who was talking about internships and, graduating, I wanted to compete on that end for as the academic part. So I bumped into these 3 things: determination, discipline, dedication, where I compete in the classroom to get me to a point where I graduated to get my degree and further myself and better myself, me and my family. So I think it was Darius competing in the classroom that drove me. The athletic part was easy. I can compete. There's nobody on the field was better than me, but the classroom was something I wanted to compete in. That was my challenges going to college to overcome.
Okay, what were ways that you overcame those? Like, what are some strategies that helped you overcome that you learned?
Well, it was like associates bring on simulation. I was looking back, sitting in the classroom with future doctors, lawyers, men of the cloth, educators, law enforcement official, a future NFL Hall of Famer. So I bumped into these guys, and that helped me and drove me to start looking at the academic part of the student athlete. So I bumped into them guys, and that drove me to the point where, hey, you need to get yourself together to compete with these guys in the classroom. So it's more of was association bring on the simulation type.
Nice. Nini, that's so important to stress to our student athletes. You know, oftentimes you hear them putting the football or basketball or whatever their sport is before academics. And you said it best, like when you got to college, you had the sports down, but then you had to compete in the classroom. So then you have all of that, you know, you're trying to play sports, but then you get to the classroom and now you got all this competition ahead of you. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
All right, my next question is for Uncle Kelly. So how did your experience in sports shape your understanding of teamwork, leadership, and discipline?
Well, just going back on a couple of things that Nini had said, though, leading into that, when you're first starting out in sports, finding out what you're good at and then sticking to it. A lot of times I started off, I did basketball, I did football, I did baseball, I ran track. And at first, all of those was fun to me. But as I excelled and got better in certain things, it ended up just being basketball. Now, I wished I would have stuck with some of the other sports and played it through high school as well, because you never know which one you might be able to strike iron on. My problem with basketball, and these guys will remember that, the same height I am today is the same height I was when I was 11 years old. So at 11 years old, I thought I was tall. Then I ran into Bobby and I ran into Vaughn and realized, wait a minute, I'm not so tall. But you find other ways that you can compete with them. So going from a center in middle school and then going into high school as a point guard, that was a big change for me. So that was one of the gradual steps that I had to take in my journey. And that's realizing, hey, you're not the biggest, baddest guy on the block anymore. You got to find another way to make this basketball dream that you want to have happen. But as going on through life, like I say, you run into people that you realize are much better than you are, bigger than you are, stronger than you are, mentality wise. Nobody can beat me at anything. But physically, and coming to the realization of, yes, that basketball dream of going to the NBA is most likely not going to happen at a guy at my height. So that's when you got to start looking at other avenues. And then he was saying he went down the academic road and started looking at academics as his next chapter in his life to do. Me, I chose the military, and I went off to the military, and I was still able to pursue my basketball dream. I got to play basketball in other countries all around the world. Had a good time doing it also, but also started my second career after high school and then a brief stint in college. So it's finding your path that works for you. And it's not always college and it's not always sports, but it's finding what works for you. And hey, the Lord will lead you in the right direction as long as you pay attention and move your will out of the way and then start following his will.
That's good. Ooh, that's good, Kelly. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. Darius, you have any more questions for Kelly?
No, that was it.
Okay. So Kendall, my question for you is the same. How did your experiences in sports shape your understanding of teamwork, leadership, and discipline?
Yeah, the game itself, it consists of all three of those. Teamwork, basketball is fast-paced, high contact team sport, where the success depends on the coordination and trust that you have as a team. You learn that no matter how skilled one player is, the team needs to perform best, or the team performs best when everyone contributes, from passing, defending, communicating, covering for each other. It builds a strong sense of accountability and selflessness. So the teamwork ethic that trickles into real life when you're working with people on the job. If you're doing a project with a team at school, if you're a student. So you're always going to have to interact with other people, throughout life. So basketball helped me understand how to, one, read people. You have to read different defenses. You have to read different plays to make sure that you're running them correctly. So the ability to read people, and I work in the sales industry. So being able to read people's tones and their voices to understand when they get excited about something that I'm pitching, or if something they're not really interested in, they're getting kind of bored. Like little details like that, you start noticing, and those are skills that I can say helped that kind of developed and helped me get better at those skills through sports. With the leadership in basketball, it's not just about being the captain or the loudest voice; it's about setting the tone. So whether you're encouraging teammates, staying composed under pressure, or making sacrifices for the greater good, you learn to lead by example. And when you're on the bench, cheering and supporting the people that's out there on the floor, all that is part of showing good leadership and good sportsmanship. And when you get into the real world, you're going to need to motivate people. There's going to be some times where people will motivate you. So just building that leadership to know how to effectively get the most out of other people, that, not just for your own game, but for their benefit as well. So that mentorship kind of kicks in as well. And then the discipline that the game teaches you. The game requires intense practices, repetition, attention to detail, from learning plays to mastering fundamentals like footwork and shooting forms. It also teaches mental discipline, keeping emotions in check, staying focused when you get tired, pushing through tough moments. Over time, that builds resilience, and that extends far beyond the basketball court. So that discipline, it's just really owning in and focusing on the task at hand, what you need to get done or what your next move is. So that's how I would say, that's one thing I would say as far as how basketball shaped my understanding for teamwork, leadership, and discipline.
Kendall, that is so well-rounded. Like everything you said, from teamwork to leadership to discipline, how the sport shaped you and groomed you for a time such as this, even on your job. So transitioning from, your journey with sports into now your position as a manager, taking that skill set and using that now in the workplace. So well-rounded, kudos to you. Accountability, resilience, all of those things you said. Wow.
Thank you.
All right. So, Bobby, the next question is for you. What advice would you give to youth who play sports?
The first thing I would say is have fun. When we're talking about our youth, we're talking about our younger generation.
Into
I think
as a manager, taking this.
I think that playing different sports also helps you decide on where you want to go. I did that. I played the basketball, I played the baseball, and I'm gonna be honest, I regret stopping playing baseball when I got to high school, because I probably was better at baseball than I was with basketball, simply because I was a first baseman at 6'1", 6'2", so you're tall, but decided that basketball was where my head was, and that's what I went with. But when I'm talking to youth, I'm always telling them, first thing you want to do is have fun with this. When you're 7, 8, 9 years old, and I tell parents this, you cannot live your life through your child at that age, at any age actually. And your child is not Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or Kobe Bryant at 7 and 8 years old. They're still developing. So the encouragement as an adult, encouraging your child to have fun. Once the fun is gone, as you all guys know, once you get to middle school now, it's like a business. It's like a business. So you want to make sure that my advice would be continue to have fun, make those relationships, that's going to be everlasting, like we have on this phone call today. And then, as a parent, make sure you surround your kid with people who love you,
Yes.
not people who want to use you. And you got to be and you got to be noticeable as a parent. And I understand that single parent, both parents in the house is a little easy, but as a single parent, you want to be there for your child. You want to make them understand, let them know that you're behind them, you got them, you know. Um, and at the end of the day, we're here to develop these young people. And if that basketball is what they want to do, then I had to learn this from Vaughn. Vaughn did something for me when we were coaching together that, I use with my kids, and he was the fact you got to let them get out there and make a mistake. You got to put them in position so they can make a mistake so they can learn, and once they learn, they're going to be all right. Vaughn told me my son, my oldest son, 28 years old, he's about 6'3", you know, he always used to bang on the inside. He loved the inside game. Vaughn said, let him guard that guard out there. See what he can do. We remember that, Vaughn. We had Matthew Dickey, and I put Trey on the point guard, and Trey went to work and threw the ball. Stole the ball from him 3 or 4 times. Vaughn looks at me. I looked at Vaughn. I said, "Oh, hey, you can learn something every day." But give it just continuing to be behind them, and encouraging them and letting them know and being honest with them.
Yes.
Being honest. That's the advice that I would give to a parent, and then I would give to you. Have fun with it. Work on your craft. Enjoy the game of basketball. Well, whatever sport it is.
Yes. So important. Number one, you said to have fun. That's so important for our youth because, and then the second most important I heard you say is we can't live our lives through our children. So, absolutely agree with everything that you said. And that support, making sure that you're having those conversations with your children, having those conversations and receiving. You receive that advice from Vaughn, like having an open mind. So, all of that is equally important. So, thank you for sharing that, Bobby.
No problem.
Bobby, I had a question because I have a few middle schoolers that I work with who are having problems finding fun in their sport now. They feel like it's more of just an activity that they're forced to do by their parents just to make them happy. What is some advice you would give to the youth on finding that fun in that sport, even if it's not the sport they're used to?
I would say use that to make friendship opportunities, with people that you're around. Okay, so if it's something that you really don't want to do, but there's other people there, first of all, get to know who's with you, building that relationship and building that friendship with that person, and then sometimes as a kid, when you put in situations, you have to make those hard decisions of having a conversation with your parent that this is not really what I want. You know, because sports is expensive, you know, and and I would rather my son or daughter come to me and say, "Dad, this is not what I want to do," instead of me spending all my money and you just going just because. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be an unhappy kid. Now that's very difficult as a young person to have that conversation with your parent that this is not something that I want to do, but it's something unfortunately it's something that may need to happen, with some of the younger people that you work with. You know, if that's not what they want to do, just make it an opportunity for them to build everlasting relationships, because you don't know who this person is next to you. They may grow up and be a CEO of something, but just because the fact that you guys were friends when you were younger playing a sport, and you're able to keep up with them, and you reach out to them, there may be something they can help you with. So you have to look at different avenues just to make this fun for that child,
Yes.
boy or girl.
I appreciate it.
All right, Vaughn, what advice would you give to youth who play sports?
That's for me.
Yes.
Um, so many things. When I coach kids, I do drill work with some kids now. I explain to them the life habits that it helps you develop, the knowing your body, the understanding. A lot of kids, and this is a very prevalent nowadays, because youth today are very coddled, and they don't do the activities that we did growing up. And, it's most young men don't know what they're capable of. And one of the major components of being a man is knowing what you're capable of doing, but you don't know that unless someone pushes you. And whereas my father, Bobby's father, pushed us, and when I wouldn't listen to my dad, Mr. Collins would talk to me. When he wouldn't listen to his dad, my dad would talk to him. But you have to find your limits, and it helps you grow as a person to have someone pushing you that knows a little bit more, that can get you to do things that you didn't even think you were capable of. So it's the self-discovery that I tell people to look for. I love seeing light bulbs go off in kids' eyes when they do something for the first time. If you can do it once, you can do it again. And so I would say that understand that the people that are trying, they're volunteering their time, mind you, to help you learn and get better, are doing so out of the goodness of their heart. So take some of the things that they say to heart and implement those in your everyday life. Now, that's hard to do when you're talking to a 10 or 12-year-old, but the one thing I've come to learn by watching my sons, who are now 27, 28, and 29, is things that I said 20 years ago, they were listening. Didn't seem like it. So I like to plant seeds, but I would tell kids to listen to your mentors. The thing that Bobby said about, being kids being protected, there are a lot of vultures out there that tell kids that they're great. They do this a lot to single moms, and I've seen it, and it's been sickening. And I've stepped in a number. Bobby has too. Stepped in a number of times. They'll tell the mother what she wants to hear about their kid, and he's okay. He could turn out to be great, but you've got to make sure that there's somebody that you can trust in the kids' lives, because like Bobby said, there's a lot of money. It gets expensive. There's a lot of money in, people building teams and having kids play for them, and they get uniforms, they get bags, they get sweatsuits, and they think that it's the greatest thing in the world, but this coach may not have their best interest at heart. So I would tell kids and their parents to make sure that the people that you're entrusting your children to are have a good heart. But the other thing is that another thing that Bobby said, and I hate to keep going back, but I've spent my whole life with him, is you're going to build relationships in this sport that you never thought you'd have. That dude Bobby has been in my life for 46 years. I almost can't remember a time when I didn't know him. And through every crucial stage of my life, I've looked to my left or my right, and that dude's always been there. And to me, that's even better than getting to play in college or overseas or anything. And as I have a friend that I've known longer than I didn't in my life. And so it's looking at this as a life skill experiment. Playing sports teaches you things that you might otherwise not know. Now, maybe you can learn these certain things at band camp. I don't know, but I never went. But for my liking, sports is probably the best teacher of life. And the other thing that I would say is make sure you have realistic goals and expectations. I told our kids, I tell kids when I talk to them, you might be a pro. Somebody's got to play, but are you that guy? And if you're not that guy, what else can you do? And the gentleman earlier that was talking about education, it's you've got to maximize this opportunity because it's short. And no matter how long you get to play, you're going to think it's short. I got to play basketball, organized basketball, until I was 26 years old. That's longer than a lot of people, but it wasn't enough for me. I would have loved for it to be till I was 36. But I was lucky enough to have people in my life that helped me develop more other relationships on the business side that allowed me to get jobs that I otherwise might not have gotten because of sports and all of those things. So, yeah, you could be a pro. You might be that 1/10 of 1%. Chances are you're not, but you might be. But if you're not, then what? So I don't want to dash your dreams, but I want you to be realistic in your approach, and you can't put all your eggs in that basket. But have fun, but understand that sports aren't always fun. When you're in high school, when you get to college and they're running you and you got 2-a-days, it's not fun. Can you maintain your love for the game when the coach is this close to your face and he's calling you everything but a child of God, and he's running you till you're almost to your puke, till you've got cramps in your legs, you can't sleep at night. Can you maintain your love through that? Can you go back and after you miss a shot that could have won the game for your team, can you go back the next day and practice hard and hope that doesn't happen to you again? So it's stick-to-itiveness is a big part of it as well. So I try to impart all of those things to kids when I'm talking to them. There's just so much. It's hard we can't fit it into an hour podcast, and we're all trying to do that, but there's just so much that I'm so thankful for having the people in my life that I've had, because without sports and without my dad being in my life, I wouldn't be here, because I know my personality. I would not be here. I'm a type A personality. I love to push the limits to everything, and I was more afraid of my dad than any thug or any policeman, and that's what kept me focused and got me to where I am today.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ron. Plethora of information. So thank you. So tonight we're talking about sports, on to God's plan and purpose. So we're going to move into our next section of purpose. But before we do, I have a very special guest that I would like to bring on. So give me 1 minute. Mr. Dominique Lovett. Hello, Dominique. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us, taking out time of your busy schedule. But I wanted you to come on tonight and be encouraged by our men on here tonight that have played the sport, and then also anything that you would like to share as well. But thank you so much for coming in and joining us on tonight.
No, I appreciate y'all for having me. It's an honor. How everybody doing? Good afternoon.
Good.
Yes. All right. So Dominic, we're talking about purpose, from moving from sports into God's plan and purpose for your life. So we're going to start with Kendall. And Kendall, my first question to you is, how has playing sports led you on your current path in life?
I think a few different ways. One, I'll say, of course, we spoke on building discipline and work, the ethics that go into that, the teamwork and the communication, but as well as fostering confidence and leadership. But I think sports in general, where it led me to in my life. So I'm a husband. I'm a father of twin 6-year-olds, 1 boy, 1 girl. And I think my family, I would say, is the biggest accomplishment to me. So like we're a really tight niche family. Like we have a big family. We're all really close. And just like my commitment to my family, the work that I put into, making sure that my wife and kids have a better life, that they have opportunities to do things that they love to do. That's where I see, like, as far as like the biggest things that I took away from sports to where I'm at now, as well as the job that I have that helps me provide for my family. And then I think it also introduces you to mentors. So that's one thing I don't want to take away, is the ability to learn from other people who are doing similar things to what you're doing or things that you love. You get these mentors and these people that come in and teach you new things that help you along the way throughout your journey in life. So just the ability to connect with those people and learn from those people, as well as just not even just on the court, but my uncle who's here on the call, he was a mentor to me, my brother, the men in my family that I looked up to and I saw them, taking care of business and doing things, doing positive things just throughout their community, throughout their life. Every thing that I've learned from basketball, from others, I feel like I'm applying it daily just without even thinking about it. Like it's almost like a second nature at this point. And it also helps you handle failures and pressure. Throughout life, you're going to have those down moments. You're going to have those moments where you're like, man, I really don't feel like I succeeded here. But in the game of basketball, you also, you don't win all the time. I don't care who you are, LeBron, Jordan, they don't win all the time. They lost games as well. And you got to learn from those things, and you got to learn how you can do better the next time. So being able to take a look at, where you may have fell short and avoid that pitfall in the future. And of course, none of it, I think, is possible without God, without having that, trust in him to lead you through that stuff. Because sometimes it can get darker than you want. Like we talking about just failures, but some failures can be really dark, or really deep. They can cut you, all the way through. And those are the moments where, you got to lean on him to pick you up and get you back on track. So, that I think that's where I would pretty much like to leave it at. That's where the things I've learned in the past have led me on to where I'm at now in life. But yeah, those lessons, just there's so many you can learn, and just making sure that you go back and think about that and really take the things away that, that God put in that experience, in that moment for you to take away, to build your character, to build what you need to do, for his purpose and your purpose.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Kendall. Just again, a plethora of information. And I watched how you, even with Kyrie, your youngest twin that plays basketball, even at his young age, and instilling those values and everything that you just discussed, I see that in him. So I think like everything that you said is just, again, well-rounded and very important. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I think Vaughn that said this, that with the young kids having fun, second that. That is wholeheartely important. At a young age, it isn't about, like you said, it ain't you don't want to look at them like you're LeBron, you're Kobe, you're Jordan. With my son, that's what I like about him. Like, it's not about, I'm not on him or yelling at him for, making a mistake out there at 6 years old while he's, learning to enjoy the game. That's the biggest part of that age, because if they love it, they'll stick with it and they'll enjoy the work that they're putting into it. But if they're just doing it just to please a parent, or please somebody else and not themselves, that can crash in the future. That could be, time that they could have spent doing something they really love and been great at that. So you like you said, never, I don't want my son to play basketball just because I play basketball. Like, at this stage, he's learning. He even asked to play other sports. So it's like, and my daughter, she's in gymnastics. And, at one point she was like, she wanted to play basketball when she saw my son playing. And so women's basketball has really taken off. Like, it's really at a way better place than it was, even a couple of years ago. So, just being able to pay attention to what they're telling you they're interested in, and kind of owning in on that and letting them experience it for themselves to see if they really love it. I'm big about that as well. So thank you for sharing that. I think Vaughn or Bobby, I think one of you two or both of you probably said it.
Yes. Thank you, Kendall. So Dom, I'm going to ask you this question as well. How has playing sports led you on your current path in life? And I just want to say this also. So Darius and Dom played in high school together, played football. So I always, his mom is such a big supporter, and I watch her journey with her son. So thank you, Wakita. I talked to her earlier today, let her know what I was doing. So yeah, so thank you again, Wakita.
Honestly, I would say it has taught me how to believe in God, and like also like make my connection with God stronger. Because I feel like sports has a way of telling you like the unknowable without you knowing it. So the biggest thing is, I would piggyback off what he said. Really, just build discipline from like a very early age. I would say that you got to get up early. You gotta create a schedule, and you gotta I would say that like that you got to be all in, and you can't be like half in, half out, because what you put in is what you get out of it. So I feel like if you're really trying to chase something and you really have a goal, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices with it. It'd be like you can't go to no more parties, or you can't really hang out like with your friends as much as you want to, because you gotta do other things to get to where you're trying to get to. And I feel like each level it brings you to a different level of standards of what you have to achieve. When you little, I feel like you just out there playing, running around, getting a little sweaty and running some energy off. You get to high school, I feel like this is where like your distractions and your errors start to minimize, because now that you're actually trying to get to the college level, then after the college level is when you're trying to get to the NFL level. But the biggest thing is I would say having the right support system, and big thing I would also say is going out there and just really having fun and not looking at it as a business, even though in today's world, I know that it can seem like a business due to like NIL and all these people getting money from playing sports, all these endorsement deals, all of that. All of that is cool and all, but if you don't keep the main thing, you can kind of lose yourself while playing the game that you once said that you love. And now sometimes it get hard to get out the bed because you might have lost your love for it. So the biggest things I would say is have a good support system, always keep God first, and always go out there and have fun. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Dom. So one of the things you talked about going from level from playing, little league, then you go into high school, then you go into college. And that's one of the things I remember when Darius went to college, and his dad saying, man, listen, this is a whole nother level now. You got 2 days, they managing your time. And he was struggling with that because he was so used to doing what he wanted to do, playing the game. But now you get to the college level, and it's a whole nother level. You got to stay up the game. You got to be in study halls. I mean, they manage your time. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yes, man. And then I would also say like going to college, it's a blessing because, like you said, that everything is like laid out for you. So they got your nursing schedule, your school schedule, your practice schedule, all of that laid out for you. So you don't have to adjust anything or do anything different. Now, what you do have to do, I feel like, is create a routine, because we used to play the game in high school, and then we got to college. I think for like our first 2 years, we ain't played a game together like the whole year, just because we was just trying to get like used to our schedule. But I feel like if you following your schedule and your regimen day in, day out, I feel like college isn't that hard. Just abide by the rules. Call your parents, because sometimes when you get locked into a football mindset, a basketball mindset, or just a sports mindset, you can sometimes like go days and days without calling people that like you would normally call, which is okay. I'm just saying, just make sure that you make time to have time for yourself and get back to yourself.
Yes. Thank you. And I love the fact that, number one, you acknowledge God in everything that you do. You keep him first and foremost. So I love
Also, speaking of God, shout out my Pastor Cortez.
Okay.
Pastor Cortez.
Thank you. All right, Don. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so the next question is for Uncle Kelly, and could you share what is some of your life philosophies?
So just a couple of little nuggets out there. So my life philosophy is pretty much treat others the way you want to be treated. No one wants to be treated bad. Now that's in sports, that's in life, that's in business, that's in everything that you do. And the main thing to do that is keep God first. If God is in the forefront, you cannot treat another person bad. And a nugget to put out there for you guys, and you see sports on TV and all this, that, and the other. When it gets down to the who's going to win or lose of the game, and you see all the fans in the stands and they're praying so hard, God, please let my team win. God kind of explained to me he likes to watch sports, but he ain't in that determining who's going to win. And a lot of people can't even grasp that. And it's kind of funny when you look in the stands and the cameras all on them and everybody's praying. God loves that because they're trying to connect with him. But the thing about it is he is not the one that's going to be the deciding factor on who wins or loses a game. And a lot of people cannot grasp that concept. But the thing about it is when people do win and they give all honor and respect to God, that pleases him. But God is not the one that said, yeah, I'm going to let you win this game today. It is your God-given ability that you're using to the fullest and that you're taking full advantage of that is helping you to win these games and do well in sports. But like I said, you got to apply that to your life as well. God comes first, and then everything else will fall in line. And that's how I try to live my life.
I appreciate that. That's a good answer.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Dom, what is your life philosophy?
I would say my life. Sorry, I'm headed to the car. Uh, I would say my life philosophy is I would really piggyback off that. My main thing is just treat people how you would like treat people the way you would like to be treated because I feel like they can go a long way and I feel like in sports a lot of people will remember what you did on the football field, on the basketball court and all that. But I feel like the thing people will most remember that people sometimes take granted for is your character and how you like treat people. So honestly, for all the kids out there playing sports, and you have a desire to play at the next level, a lot of college coaches when they come recruit you, the first thing that they ask about is what is his character like? Is he nice to people? Is he nice to the lunch ladies? Is he nice to his teacher? How about the janitor? They ask about all of that. So I feel like as long as you're a good, kind-hearted person, I feel like that you would be just fine. But football can only take you like so far. You have to put in work outside of practice hours. You have to get in your playbook, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, riding a bike, swimming, anything. I just feel like that again, once what you put in is what you get out. And just keeping your inner circle tight. I feel like when people like elevate, y'all meet new people, and I feel like there's God sending you a test to see if you can handle what's next and how much He can really put on your plate. And just knowing when somebody is right for you and when somebody isn't right. You knowing if you got 8 a.m. Well, not even gonna say 8 a.m. You know if you got 6 a.m. workout and one of your friends party every day and they steady asking you to come out, knowing that you gotta go to workout, that might not be the best friend for your situation. You know, that may be a friend that you may have to talk to only on the weekends or if you're free. And then you may have your other friend that may be your workout partner, your school partner, you do everything right partner that you may kick it with. Now, I'm not saying everybody is perfect. You know, everybody not perfect. You know, we all then went out, you know, kicked it, did all that. I'm just saying that you have to prioritize what you want in life sooner than later because each level the what's the word I'm looking for, each level the separation of talent goes down immensely little by little. So what are you going to do extra to put yourself out there more and make yourself different on tape? But the biggest thing I would say for philosophy of life, I know I'm rambling, I would say is just your character and how you treat people.
Yes, that's so important that you mentioned that, Dom, because that's one of the things I think we talked the last time we met is, getting it through these kids' head that you got to get off social media. You got to keep your business off social media. You can't be out here flashing guns and money and all of that because there's always someone watching you. So thank you for sharing that.
Always.
Always.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. She is so right when she say somebody is always watching. If y'all ever see in y'all Instagram, Twitter, Facebook feed, y'all ever see any of that, y'all ever see like an unknown name that don't look normal, I would I wouldn't say block it because that's an extra follow, you got more followers. But I would say you might not know who that is because coaches have talked to my head coaches. They talked to my coaches back at Mizzou. They some coach even asked me about something that I posted on Instagram. Might even know he was following me because he wasn't following me from his main account. They got so many accounts that they can follow you from and monitor you. They're not stalking you. They're just trying to see what kind of person you are. And are you a good person? Not necessarily a bad person, but how do you conduct your life?
Yes.
Because the more and more that you move up each level, the more and more it becomes a business. And business get real strict past that high school level. High school, it kind of become a business, but you still kind of free, willy-nilly enjoying the high school process. But when you get to college now, everybody was the number one player in their school. That's why y'all all there. And you just got to separate yourself. Basically, separate yourself, have a good work ethic, be a kind-hearted person, and just have a clean social media, you know?
Thank you. Thank you, Don. All
Just
right.
man.
Vaughn, what is the best advice that you've ever received and why?
Don't quit. That has permeated through my entire life. Sports aren't always. I mean, it's a game, but that's not always fun in games. It's real life. The pressures that you feel when you're on the court on the football field are real. You know, it's you play a sport, it raises your cortisol levels as much as any other stressful situation. So you're gonna have the fight or flight, you know, response to certain situations. Your coach getting on you. Coach doesn't like me. Well, maybe he doesn't, or maybe he's just trying to push you to see how far he can push you, to see if you'll crack under pressure. But the number one thing I tell, and I told my boys, because I relate everything to my boys, is that when we start this, you can't quit. Maybe we can have a discussion after the season. Like when they started playing football, my three boys started playing football. I made them sign a 2-year contract, and they were 7, 6, and 5, and I made them sign a 2-year contract because football hurts, you know, and you're probably going to lose a lot. So it's not going to be fun the first year, but you're going to have to play 2 years. And they signed it, and all three of my boys played college football. And the middle boy played college football and basketball. So it was through adversity, through broken bones, you know, torn ligaments, through, you know, not getting along with teammates, not getting along with coaches. Don't quit, because what's on the other side, even if you're not uber successful by, you know, the outsiders will always say you're successful if you win a championship, if you do certain things, if you win the scoring title, all of those things. But success can be measured in a multitude of different ways. And the number one thing is on the tough days when your legs were sore, they're burning from running sprints, running hills and all of that stuff, or you may have fallen, gotten your back hurt. Do you have the toughness to come back the next day and keep going? And that oftentimes, you know, not all the time in life, is what separates the successful from the non-successful. Just every person that you see that's successful isn't even the smartest person or the most talented person out there. They're the ones that didn't quit. You know, everybody on here knows a guy that should have played in the NFL or the NBA, more talented than half the people you ever met. I watched a guy. I used to live in Chicago, and it was right before I played in Europe, and then I said I'm gonna get serious. I took a year off and get a job. And I moved to Chicago. I was playing in 4 leagues, and they have this league on the south side of Chicago where all the pros come and play. And when I tell you this, I mean this as seriously as I'm sitting here. I watched a guy go toe to toe with Michael Jordan. He was from Memphis. I watched him go toe to toe with Michael Jordan, so much so that I sat in the stands because I played before that game, and Mike walked in, so I went and sat down so I could watch. I watched Mike come up to this guy after the game and say to him, "You are really good. I could get you a contract with the Bulls." I watched this guy say, "Well, I just got promoted to assistant manager at the Piggly Wiggly or whatever, and my girl is pregnant, so I'm gonna go home. But man, I'm a big fan of you, Mike. Thank you so much." And everybody in the gym would have loved to get that, you know. And we recognized that at that point in the gym, he's about the second best player. So no one ever saw. I don't even know his name. No one ever saw him again. But we all have that a memory of a guy that's so good but didn't make it. And then you have a guy that marginal talent, but he made it, but he stuck with it. He didn't quit. You know, he wanted it. And so if you can keep that desire through the hard days, through the bad days, through the failure days, then I think in life in general, you're going to be successful more times than not.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Vaughn. Thank you. Darius, do you have any questions?
So I had a question for Nini. What advice can you offer the student athletes it can be high school, college, any level, just student athletes that are experiencing some hardships or what they're going through right now?
Well, For a student athlete, have a path ahead of you of what you want to do. You may have a detour here and there, but stay straight on your path. When you get into college, what I did was I got with a counselor and showed me this path about my graduation, what path I need to take. Get in a good internship program. Some of these employers will ask you, hey, we want your experience. And a good internship is a substitute for having experience when you're getting out of college. So use that, hit your grades, hit your books real hard, because when you're in college and you get your GPA, they don't look what you did quarterly or the semester, they look at cumulative. And, work hard soon you get in college where your grade levels is low with your hours. As you go up and up more and more, it's hard to get that cumulative GPA up. So once you get there, hit hard so you can build that foundation so your cumulative GPA can rise as you get your hours. Because once you start getting your hours up, it's going to be hard to get that cumulative GPA. So the distraction now kids had Don alluded on it earlier with the Facebook, everybody want clicks with the IG, the NIL, the transfer portal. It's really hard for a student athlete nowadays. So stay focused, work hard, and don't look at them distractions, because you're there for a purpose. And that's to get an education. Like you say, too many people ain't going to go to the NFL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball, soccer. You there for a free education. Take advantage of it. So
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man.
Can I piggyback on what he's saying?
Yes.
The academics, and I've told kids this too. There are some kids that will receive scholarships because they have grades, because they're going to bring the team the cumulative GPA up. So that's another path. There may be a guy that's uber talented, but he's got a 2.4, and this kid who is probably a step slower, might not be as strong, might not be as tall, might not be as fast, all of those things, but he's got a 3.8 grade point average, and he listens and he works hard and he won't take days off. That's another pathway. So it's you can be uber talented, or you can have grades, or if you're lucky, you have both. Some of these kids now, they're coming out and they have both, and they're almost unstoppable. But there's a lot of times you can make a roster by being that character guy or being that grade guy, like he's saying. So it's equally, if not what's more important, because your education is going to stay with you until the day you die. But it's more important than sports, but it can help you achieve your sports goal by having a good core GPA.
And a funny story with that, back in the day when I was pledging, and they was like, no, we don't want him. He's too big. He's a football player. But they he got the highest cumulative GPA, all his line brothers. So they was like, what? Yeah, he's sitting there with a 3.5 cumulative. So they were like, let him in, So it will open doors. You got to hit your books hard, Darius, as you know, and, stay with that purpose. Get in a good internship program. Once you get to school, like I say, that's going to be key for you to say, hey, you can put that down as a resume, because some employers well, you need experience, get with your counselor and your advisor and pretty much get a path so you can go and get out there and get that free education.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to put Darius and Dom on the spot and ask them the same question, because they are student athletes. So I'm going to start with you, Dom. What advice can you offer to student athletes, especially like our youth this is a season where high school parents are going out doing college visits. And I think it's very important to even, reach out to other parents that have walked that journey that you can call and get some advice from. So what advice could you offer to a student athlete, Dominique?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would say, 1, keep your grades right, like they said. 2, I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't get an offer from a school or a scholarship from a school and think that you got to go to that school or that's going to be your school that you go to, because it's a business. A school might recruit you But down the long stretch, they might, shift to somebody else, or they might not call you back, or they might just move on. And that's the way of the scholarship business. Biggest thing is, I would say, just worry about your lane. Like, stay in your lane, focus on you. Because the moment you try to focus, oh, what he doing, what she doing, that's how like you can really kill like your own joy. Because you worried about what somebody else doing instead of worried about you. Another thing I would say, enjoy the process. Like, it's gonna be a little bit stressful because you're gonna have so many schools, but you can only choose one. I would say enjoy it. Take all your unofficial visits, take all your official visits, and just enjoy the process. Because once you get to college, depending on where you go in life, you're gonna be on your own for a majority of y'all first time. Your mom's not gonna be there, your dad not gonna be there. They gonna drop you off. Y'all gonna make your dorm room. Y'all gonna go get something to eat, and it's gonna be you by yourself. And this gonna be your first step into manhood or womanhood for you to do all the things that your parents taught you. Make sure that you're exemplifying your last name the right way. It's your reflection of your parents at the end of the day. Yes, you yourself. Yes, I'm Dominic Lovett, but I'm a reflection of Dennis Lovett and Wakita Walker. This is not just about me. You got parents that poured into you. They didn't help you get to where you are in life. So represent your parents and your last name and your city the right way. Another thing is, don't forget where you came from. I'm real big on that. Just because I played at Mizzou and transferred to Georgia, that don't mean like I forget where I came from. I still come home, kick it with the same people, and really just enjoy the journey, and just have fun. And yeah, that's what I got.
I witnessed that too, Dominic. You did an interview, and I think someone said, "You from St. Louis, Missouri?" He's like, "No, sir, I'm from Venice, Illinois." So,
Oh yeah, because like a lot of people, it's so crazy. A lot of people do not know the difference between East St. Louis and St. Louis.
yeah,
And that really be
all the
bothering
time.
and that really be bothering me because they be like, "Oh, you from St. Louis?" I said, "No." They be like, "Well, you played at East St. Louis." I say, "Right. See, see. East St. Louis is across the bridge in Illinois, and I played there, and I'm not from there. I'm from Venice, Illinois. So y'all be getting me all wrong. You see?" But
yes, yeah. Keep
I live in
referencing.
Atlanta, and I get that all the time. Oh, East St. Louis. I'm like, that's a different area, but yeah.
Yeah, I
that's what I'm
piggyback
saying.
off that. It's always, where you from? Madison, Illinois. Where that's near East St. Louis, St. Louis. Oh, you from from Madison.
Or if they ask, they'll be like, "Where you from?" I'll be like, "I'm from Illinois." They be like, "Oh, Chicago."
Yep.
I'll be like, "So that's the only city y'all know? That's the only city y'all know?"
Most people.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely. All right, Darius, what advice would you offer to student athletes?
First, obviously, stay honed in on your grades. That's gonna carry you the rest of your way in life. So I would say for any level, make sure your grades is always straight. You can't get your grades together, then your performance on the field gonna always show. So I would say take whatever grade you in serious, do your homework on time. Don't really try to fall off on any projects. Always keep that on your schedule. As far as the athlete side of it, like Dom said, enjoy the process. You never know when your last snap will be. You never know when that last game will be, when your last practice will be. You never know when any of this can end. It can end tomorrow. And I firsthand experienced that when I ruptured my Achilles my senior year in a game, just one last play. So I'm grateful for everything football gave to me. I remember every game from 7 to 23. So I would say just take in everything you get, even the bad days where you don't want to go to practice. Still get up, find a purpose every day to just get 1% better. You can never stop getting better, no matter how much you think you are good at it. So just keep finding ways to hone in on your craft. Don't let nobody else take you off your path. So that'd be what I give to it.
Thank you, Darius. Thank you for sharing that. So this has been amazing. Thank you, Bobby, Kelly, Kendall, Nini, Vaughn, Darius and Dom. I so appreciate you guys. You guys have poured out a plethora of information. At this time, if you guys want to say anything, give Dom some encouraging words. Dom, if you would like to say anything, I would like for you to do so at this time.
I'd like to say something if you have time.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Well, good luck to you first off, but you've already been through this and you can attest to it. For the parents that are watching this that have high level recruits, and it's that time of the year, and they're starting for the kids that are going to be the rising seniors now. I ended up with one of my sons being heavily recruited. I mean, he was recruited by everyone. Ended up committing to Alabama, but flipped to Mizzou the day before signing. That's a whole nother story. But I tell parents, because a lot of parents would send their children to these visits, and if your kid is a high-level recruit and you allow your child to go on one of those visits without you, you deserve whatever you get. Because as everybody said on here, sports at that level is a business. And if they really want your son and he's hem-hawing between two schools, they can put your son or daughter in a position to influence his decision. And I've seen it happen firsthand. I've seen them put kids in situations to where, well, now I've got to sign with them because I got into a little trouble here, and they say they can make it go away. But if I go to the other school, I'm on my own. I've watched this happen in real time. And so if you have a kid
100%.
who's being recruited highly, you've got to be with them every step of the way, because this industry is wrought with vultures, and I know not everyone is lucky enough to have two parents in the house, but the family's got to come together. And if mom is the only parent, then she's got to be with them all the time, or an uncle or somebody to watch this kid. When you get done, this kid at 18, I know he's an adult. I know he can go to war. I know he can vote and all that, but that's still a baby. There's so many things that he doesn't know or she doesn't know at that level. And you've got these guys my age talking to an 18-year-old, trying to convince them. And there are any number of ways somebody could jumble a kid's head up to make him think that it's his decision to come there, when in fact they've manipulated him. So you've got to protect your kids, because it gets grimy. They'll put money in your kid's hand. They'll put you in a situation with girls. They'll in a situation with drinking or drug use. I've seen all of it, and it's sickening. So if you have a kid that's a high level recruit, you must protect them, because the world is not kind.
Yes. Thank you
I
for
would
sharing.
piggyback off that. The biggest thing I would piggyback off is the influence. My mother or my father came with me on every visit. And as a kid, you may think that you may know it all. You may think that you know this coach that's trying to recruit you. Now, don't get me wrong, not all coaches use this method. Some coaches are just straight up with you and was like, hey, if it's between us and them, just make a decision. Some coaches are desperate, and some coaches don't look at your kid as a kid. They look at him as how many stars he got as a recruit. And it's kind of sad, because the more 5 stars a coach can recruit, how much winning he can do, the more he get paid. I'm gonna just keep it honest.
Yeah.
So, and the money part is
1,000%.
I'm telling you, and the money part is so scary, because the money can come in so many different ways. If you was not with your kid, it can come by a blank check. It can come, as we all seen, a scandal with some schools. It can come with a McDonald's bag, a duffel bag, and that's just under the table money. So as a kid, if you never seen that much amount of money, you're automatically going to shift. Oh well, I need to go here. They just gave me this much money on top of this much money. But as they said, you also got to know what level talent your kid is, and that's a hard truth to have with a kid. That's why I feel, as a parent, which I'm not a parent, I'm just letting y'all know from my experience, that you must be able to have those tough conversations with your kid. Because now, if you have all the utmost belief in your kid, as I feel all parents do, by all means. But at the same time, if your kid is getting recruited
And he has Alabama, LSU. Let me see. Trying to say a school that's not that high. He got Iowa and Kansas State. If you know that your son truly is Kansas State level, and you know he might can compete a little bit with the Alabama and the LSU off rip, that is okay for your son to start out at a lower level school. You do not have to go to the biggest school off rip. Because I promise you, it is some playmakers in them lower level schools. There's playmakers everywhere in all sports. Some roads are just different. My road was different. My road was impacted by COVID, and it still worked out great. And the biggest thing I would say is you got to be optimistic. Every opportunity that you get is positive. You can't look at nothing from a negative light, because if you look at it from a negative light, then it will have a snowball effect. You must be appreciative of every day, every chance, and look at things as a you get to, not a you have to. Because once you start looking at it as a you have to, it starts to become like a job. Like, why do we have to run? Why do we have to condition? Why do we have to lift weights? As it would be somebody that would kill to be in your position that would look at it as a get to mindset. People who usually look at it as a get to mindset are usually the ones who succeed. And the ones who look at it as a why do we have to do this, those a little bit are the ones that fall behind the 8 ball. So yeah.
Thank you, Dom. Anyone else before we wrap up the evening?
It's been great.
Yes.
It's been great.
So
It really has.
it's been great. This has been great.
Thank
You know, I appreciate this cuz I was getting ready to call you your nickname, but I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say Roslyn. It's great to see all these brothers and giving our young people that advice and being real.
Mhm.
This is these men on here are being real with with everyone out there and these young athletes that's on this call. You know, there's an opportunity for you somewhere. You're a fit somewhere. Just
Yeah,
because you're not at Duke does not mean you cannot be successful.
that's right.
Amen. All right. Anyone else before we say good night?
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Yes, thank
No
you. Thank you,
problem.
Dom. We appreciate you
Good luck
too.
to you, man.
Yes.
Yeah, keep up
Thank
the
you.
good work.
Yes.
Good luck.
Appreciate you coming on, Dom, praying for you, rooting for you, all of that. So thank you so much. Thank you also to your mom. She has truly been a blessing. I follow her. That's how I keep up with you. So
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
Darius, get on the game.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We will go back and look at the comments, questions, and try to respond to everyone. Thank you for your time. I don't take it lightly that you hung out with us tonight on the Just Breathe podcast. If anyone inspires to be my special guest, please reach out to me at whatisyourdetour@gmail.com. I would love to have you as my special guest. I have enjoyed this back together again evening with all of you. So Kelly, Nene, Vaughn, Bobby, I know you guys are going to be getting together because Vaughn, you might live in Atlanta, but I know you guys are going to be connecting this weekend. So
I'm
have
gonna see him
fun.
tomorrow. You're right.
Yes. Yes. So have fun. Love you guys. And thank you again. And remember to just breathe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, fellas. See you, Cook.
Thank you.
See ya.